Aristotle's rhetoric, ethos, pathos, and logos. Ethos, pathos, and logos are three persuasive appeals or rhetorical strategies commonly used in persuasive communication, such as in writing or public speaking. These appeals were first identified and described by the ancient Greek philosopher Aristotle in his work Rhetoric.
How do you get what you want using just your words? Aristotle set out to answer exactly that question over 2,000 years ago with a treatise on rhetoric. Rhetoric, according to Aristotle, is the art of seeing the available means of persuasion. And today we apply it to any form of communication. Aristotle focused on oration, though, and he described three types of persuasive speech. Forensic or judicial rhetoric establishes facts and judgments about the past, similar to detectives at a crime scene. Epidictic or demonstrative rhetoric makes a proclamation about the present situation, as in wedding speeches. But the way to accomplish change is through deliberative rhetoric, or symboleticon. Rather than the past or the present, deliberative rhetoric focuses on the future. It's the rhetoric of politicians debating a new law by imagining what effect it might have. Like when Ronald Reagan warned that the introduction of Medicare would lead to a socialist future spent telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free. But it's also the rhetoric of activists urging change, such as Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream that his children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. In both cases, the speakers present their audience with a possible future and try to enlist their help in avoiding or achieving it.
Ethos is the appeal to ethics, character, and credibility. It focuses on establishing the speaker's or writer's credibility and trustworthiness. Ethos involves demonstrating that the communicator has expertise in the subject matter, is honest and trustworthy, and shares common
Aristotle's
values
first
with the
principle of
audience.
persuasion
By
is this:
establishing ethos,
the person
the
delivering the
audience is more
message
likely
has
to
to be
trust and be
credible.
receptive to the
If I
message
don't trust
being
you, or
conveyed.
if I don't like you, or if I don't think you know what you're talking about, then it doesn't really matter what you say. I'm probably going to reject it. That's ethos, the attributes of the speaker. Are you believable or not? Do you really have my best interest in mind, or just your own? So to use this, Detective Dave might say something like, "Look, Jason, I've been doing this for 25 years, and I'm tired of seeing young guys like you go to jail for a first offense. I know you're only trying to take care of your family, so just write down your confession, and I'll put in a good word with the prosecutor." Well, maybe he gets the confession, and maybe he...
But what makes for good deliberative rhetoric besides the future tense? According to Aristotle, there are three persuasive appeals: ethos, logos, and pathos. Ethos is how you convince an audience of your credibility. Winston Churchill began his 1941 address to the U.S. Congress by declaring, "I have been in full harmony all my life with the tides which have flowed on both sides of the Atlantic against privilege and monopoly," thus highlighting his virtue as someone committed to democracy. Much earlier, in his defense of the poet Archias, Roman consul Cicero appealed to his own practical wisdom and expertise as a politician. Drawn from my study of the liberal sciences and from that careful training to which I admit that at no part of my life I have ever been disinclined. And finally, you can demonstrate disinterest, or that you're not motivated by personal gain.
Pathos refers to the emotional appeal of an argument. It involves using emotions, feelings, and sentiments to persuade the audience. The goal of pathos is to connect with the audience on an emotional level, evoking empathy, sympathy, or other emotional responses. By appealing to the audience's emotions, the speaker or writer can make their message more relatable and engaging. For example, using personal anecdotes, vivid storytelling, or powerful imagery can elicit a strong emotional response.
Detective Dave might say, "Look, Jason, we have you on video shoplifting. If you cooperate and confess, you're probably looking at a fine. If you don't, it's at least 30 days in prison. Maybe a whole year if the judge is in a bad mood. What do you say?" There's an obvious logic to Dave's argument, and as long as Jason thinks Dave is credible, that he's being truthful about the video and the likely sentences, then Dave might get his confession.
Pathos appeals to emotion, and in our age of mass media, it's often the most effective mode. Pathos is neither inherently good nor bad. but it may be irrational and unpredictable. It can just as easily rally people for peace as incite them to war. Most advertising, from beauty products that promise to relieve our physical insecurities to cars that make us feel powerful, relies on pathos. Aristotle's rhetorical appeals still remain powerful tools today. But deciding which of them to use is a matter of knowing your audience and purpose, as well as the right place and time. And perhaps just as important is being able to notice when these same methods of persuasion are being used on you.
Pathos refers to the emotional appeal of an argument. It involves using emotions, feelings, and sentiments to persuade the audience. The goal of pathos is to connect with the audience on an emotional level, evoking empathy, sympathy, or other emotional responses. By appealing to the audience's emotions, the speaker or writer can make their message more relatable and engaging. For example, using personal anecdotes, vivid storytelling, or powerful imagery can elicit a strong emotional response.
Now, chances are the detective will finally get what he needs. In fact, pathos is so powerful that Dave might get a confession even if Jason is innocent. So be careful how you use it. Ethos, logos, and pathos. Ancient ideas, but they solve modern problems, whether it's an interrogation or an interview for a job. If you're serious about becoming more persuasive, it makes sense to start here.
Logos is the use of logic and reason. This method can employ rhetorical devices such as analogies, examples, and citations of research or statistics. But it's not just facts and figures. It's also the structure and content of the speech itself. The point is to use factual knowledge to convince the audience, as in Sojourner Truth's argument for women's rights. I have as much muscle as any man, and can do as much work as any man. I have plowed and reaped and husked and chopped and mowed, and can any man do more than that? Unfortunately, speakers can also manipulate people with false information that the audience thinks is true, such as the debunked but still widely believed claim that vaccines cause autism.
In persuasive communication, these three appeals are often used together to create a well-rounded and effective argument. By incorporating ethos, pathos, and logos into their rhetoric, speakers and writers can better connect with their audience, provide solid reasoning, and establish their own credibility, leading to a more compelling and persuasive message. If you require assistance with creating a presentation, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us for further details. We are Creation Ads, you imagine. We create.